The ground trembled. A shadow blotted out the twin suns above. The alien war giant, 3 stories tall, brought its obsidian fist crashing down toward the trembling medic below. The other soldiers had already fallen. No one should have survived that blow. But then, it stopped. A single human hand, small compared to the monster's knuckles, had caught it mid-air. Dust froze mid-fall. The alien's crimson eyes widened, and the human, bleeding but smiling, whispered, "My turn." In that instant, the galaxy learned why you never underestimate a human. If that opening made your pulse quicken, stick around, because this story dives deep into one of humanity's most legendary battlefield moments. Hit like if you love powerful HFY stories, subscribe for more epic human vs. alien tales every week, and share this one with someone who'd definitely try to catch a giant ass punch mid-air. Let's dive right into the legend. The sky was burning. Columns of black smoke twisted upward like dying serpents, swallowing the sunlight over Kharis Prime, a frontier colony once proud of its gardens and glass cities. Now, those same gardens were ash, and the cities, nothing but shattered ribs of steel and flame. Through the chaos ran Hana Lee, a combat medic, her uniform streaked with soot and blood. She wasn't supposed to be here. Medics were meant to evacuate first, but she refused to leave. There were still voices on the comms, still beating hearts in the rubble. Every step echoed with the tremors of the invaders. The Vrakor giants, towering biomechanical warriors bred for one thing: extinction. Their footfalls cracked concrete. Their war screams turned courage into silence. Hana dragged a wounded soldier behind a fallen column, pressing his chest plate closed with trembling hands. "Stay with me," she whispered, but even her voice was drowned by the distant roar of something far worse. Above her, the air shimmered, and through the smoke stepped a giant, eyes glowing like molten glass, its fist bigger than a hover tank. Kharis Prime was no longer a battlefield. It was a graveyard waiting for one last name. Hana could barely breathe. The air was thick with dust and the stench of plasma burns. The wounded man beside her was unconscious now, his vitals flickering out on her wrist display. She looked up. The Vrakor giant was moving closer, each step a small earthquake. Its armor shimmered with a red energy pulse. Alive, almost breathing. Around it lay the remains of the defense squad, every gun silenced, every mech flattened. Her hands shook as she reached for her sidearm. Useless, but it made her feel less helpless. "Come on," she muttered to herself. "Move, just move." Then, a sound cut through the chaos. Not the shriek of a plasma cannon, not the rumble of alien thunder. It was something human, a voice. Calm, confident. "Hey!" Through the smoke, a lone figure stepped forward. Armor scorched, visor cracked, a rifle slung carelessly over one shoulder. He didn't look like a survivor. He looked like the storm itself had walked into battle. The Vrakor turned its gaze toward him, almost amused. The soldier, call sign Reed, tilted his head, smiled faintly, and said, "You've had your turn." And the battlefield went silent. The giant's growl shook the ground. Its obsidian armor plates unfolded, revealing cables of living muscle and glowing veins pulsing with alien light. Hana couldn't move. She was paralyzed, caught between awe and terror. The Vrakor lifted its arm high. The air itself seemed to warp around the motion. A shadow fell over Hana as the creature's massive fist came down like a meteor, the kind that ends civilizations. She closed her eyes, and then nothing. No impact, no pain, just silence, broken by a low human chuckle. Hana opened her eyes. The world looked frozen. Dust hung in the air. The giant's fist had stopped, inches from her face. Between it and her stood Reed, one arm raised, his gauntlet pressed against the monster's knuckles. For a moment, even the Vrakor hesitated, sensors flickering in disbelief. A human? Stopping it? Reed's lips curled into a grin. His voice was quiet, but every syllable hit like thunder. My turn. The alien tried to push harder and failed. Metal groaned. The ground cracked beneath Reed's boots, but he didn't move. He simply tightened his grip. And for the first time in its existence, the giant looked afraid. Reed's visor flickered, displaying a single warning. Power limit exceeded. He ignored it. The veins on his neck stood out as he pushed back, boots sinking into the cracked earth. The Vrakor roared, twisting its arm. But Reed didn't just hold his ground. He shoved. The sound was like thunder rolling through metal. The giant stumbled, actually stumbled, as Reed drove its arm upward, forcing its momentum against itself. In one motion, he pivoted, slammed his knee into the joint of the creature's leg, and sent the towering monster crashing backward into the remains of a transport ship. Human muscle density? Impossible! The alien's internal systems crackled, trying to understand what was happening. Reed just laughed. That's your problem. You measure everything except heart. He ripped a fallen plasma pike from the ground and charged. The world blurred around him, motion born of fury and focus. Every strike carved through armor, exposing the alien's living core beneath. Hana could only watch, breathless, as the impossible unfolded. One man, one human, against a weapon built to erase species. When Reed finally stopped, the giant lay silent, a crater beneath its body. And he whispered, "Now you understand humanity's turn." When the dust finally settled, the battlefield was quiet again. Unnaturally quiet. The twin suns cut through the smoke, their light falling on a single figure standing beside the fallen Titan. Reed, motionless, staring down at the giant that had once called itself a god of war. Hana approached slowly, her heart still hammering. How did you... He turned to her, cracked a tired smile, and shrugged. Guess I just got tired of running. That was the first human victory against a Vrakor in open combat. No fleet, no orbital strikes, just one man and a choice, to stand. Days later, the story spread through comm relays and fleet channels, whispered like myth. The Vrakor themselves recorded it in their war archives as the day the humans stopped the sky. For generations, they'd seen humanity as fragile, clever, yes, but weak. But on Kharis Prime, they saw something new, defiance that didn't break. Every species in the sector learned that day what humans were made of. Not just bone and blood, but something far more dangerous. Hope. And when hope stands up and smiles at the impossible falls.